Alright, howdy folks, welcome back to Top Comics Pressing. In this video we're going to look at this copy of the Mighty Avengers #1. So this is coming to us as a raw grade from a client who purchased it from an auction house that claimed it was a 2.0. And what you'll notice right off the bat is it is definitely worn. There's significant damage to the bottom staple. There's significant damage up to the top staple. There's some very light spine splitting right there through Thor. There is a chunk right there that is gone, but thankfully is folded under. And then there are a couple of other chunks here that are unfortunately gone. And if we flip it on over here, we can notice that this book has a true spine roll, so it has a large amount of the wraps exposed. It also has a folded up page here that's pretty extensively crunched that we'd like to uncrunch. I already gave this book a very light dry cleaning. There wasn't a whole lot to dry clean off, but I just gave it a light, pick up where I could see some surface dirt that I thought would be easy to remove. When you see fraying and splaying like this, that's going to be an immediate red flag. Now, the owner of this book did give me a little bit of an approval to attempt a spine roll fix on it. This book, even though could possibly result in damage to the book, because of where the grade is at, I think it's worth it. So if you fix the spine roll, you'll probably get a half grade roll up. Because it's already a 2.0 book, even if we pop both staples, fully detaching the cover and fully split the spine 100% all the way down, you're probably looking at a 1.5 copy. And so, it's basically a 0.5 dice roll in either direction. And at the very least, if it's aligned up, it will most likely fit in a slab a lot nicer. And so that, I think by itself, and just from the external eye appeal, is probably the way to go. Now, almost always books that have an extensive spine roll and that amount of damage are going to have fully blown centerfolds if you go in there and look. This one by Miracle looks like that bottom staple actually is attached. This one, I really can't tell with it crunched up like that, but it definitely has some damage. And so what we're going to do here is lay this flat. And then I have here my kitchen parchment paper and a wetted cotton round, and we're going to very gently flatten this out. The risk here is not going to be on the flatten stage, it's going to be on the refold stage. So this book should flatten without causing any serious damage. The flattening is the easy part. The significant risk is going to be when we refold it along all of those vertical spine stress lines. Those are reader creasing, and it was also where it was rolled against. And the risk is that if you pull or tug or fold with too much force along there, what you'll end up doing is fully splitting the spine right along those pre-existing creases. So I'm sure as a kid you remember folding paper in half and then back and then the other way and then tearing it in a nice line right across that crease. That is the risk on a book like this, is that paper fiber holding that crease together is going to have a lot of pre-existing damage, and we need it to hold together just a little bit. The good news though is that this is only a normal 16 page or 32 page, 16 folded in half, 8 wrap comic book, and so it is significantly thinner than some of the Golden Age books, and so that means hopefully we won't need to use as much force and we'll be able to get a cleaner fold on it without applying that much pressure. This book, I would say, has true off-white pages. It doesn't have any true tanning. On the interior covers of this book, if it looked burnt, or if the edges had significant tanning that the middle of the comic did not have, I would not attempt this because the tanning along the spine will for sure make the paper brittle. I'm just going to touch it here. It actually looks like that centerfold is attached, which is kind of miraculous, but I can still feel a little bit of memory where it was there. So we're going to do a little bit more of a pass here. The tanned covers become genuinely brittle, and that's where you're for sure going to end up with damage. This particular comic I would not call brittle. It is exceedingly delicate or fragile, though, with all those pre-existing tears and that level of damage. So we're going to have to be very careful, and it's the refold part here that makes me quite nervous. That looks pretty good. While this is flat, let's straighten out these little bits that we know are misfolded. So if we go here, you know, that page is going to be quite significantly screwed up. And I'm just going to gently dab that with my cotton round to try to supply some humidity. And the cotton round at this point is pretty dried out. If you try to unfold delicate dry paper, you'll always rip it. Let's see if that'll unfold now. There we go. That's all we can do. I'm gonna hit it with just a little bit more humidity coming out of there, and then we'll cover that up and hit it with the iron real quick. Kiss more humidity. There's our page there. I think that's going to be as good as we're going to need it to go. We'll rely on the press to do some more flattening there, but at least the page is flattened out. There's a little bit here on the front cover. So again, I have my SRP paper under the comic, as that way I don't have to put any pressure on it. It's going to kind of just float freely. This little bit, I'm going to get a Q-tip to do. Q-tip, and I'll spray that with my water bottle. I'm going to do that away from the comic just to be sure I don't have any risk of getting any moisture on the comic. What I'm going to do is take that damp end and just touch right where that seam is. On a book with tanning like this, too much moisture and just a little too much moisture will end up generating a stain, so you want to make sure that you have very, very light humidity. Of course, on a book of this grade, a very small stain is not going to affect the grade in any way, so you're probably safe there. Oop, got a little bit of water there from my cotton round. If you look, the bottom corner and the top corner are also folded over, so we're going to want to unfold those as well. Got that. There's a little bit folded up here. And this is much easier to do as the comic lays flat. Straighten out some of these other little bits. It's unfortunately twisted over. There we go. That looks good. And then I'm going to start on the corners as well. Looks like both corners have some degree of crunch associated with them. So we'll do the same thing as before, and as long as we got the cotton round, it's going to be a little bit more precise for us. Or, sorry, the Q-tip. This part is definitely easier if the whole comic is flat, because then you don't have to worry about stressing the staples or the spine or anything like that. Unroll that. Hotter than I wanted it to be. Turn that back down. And the press will help these out a little bit as well, so we do not need to mega crunch them. Just need to give it a little bit to unfold. Make sure that they don't curl back up on us. Now piece is starting to flake off. Top corner here is actually okay. I don't think I need to do any more there, but the bottom corner still gives a couple of wraps just to focus on. By the way, the discoloration that you're seeing is a function of it. When the paper's folded over, it'll age slightly different. You see that on covers a lot on the interior, where you get a slightly different color if you unfold it. Because most of the acid's in the newsprinty side of the paper, and so if a part of the cover's folded over, it'll actually protect itself from the touching the newsprint. This is the last one to fold back over. Okay. Alright, so now we have our flat copy of Avengers #1. I actually have to go find a supply here to bring on back for the rest of this. Okay, what I had to go grab are these, which are chip clips. And these are specifically from Good Cook, but the reason I like them is they have a rubber edge in here, and that rubber is not toothed, that is, it's smooth, and they only provide a little bit of pressure. And so what we're going to do is gently fold this and then line up the open edge where we would like it to go, and then worry about refolding it later to put that extra line in there. Now this, if you look, has a little bit of a Silver Age manufacturing, and so it's never going to be perfect. So if we see that kind of tapered V in there, what we want to avoid doing is putting any pressure on those staples or the spine. One corner there is being stubborn. And that's normal. What I would like to do is just make sure we're protecting where those staples are too. So I'm going to try to get that as close as I can get it, and then gently clamp it there, and then confirm over here. Do not like how that landed. To get as much as I can, make sure it's flush on the table. Just kind of carefully hovering. Rotate it over in 3D space to make sure it doesn't have any tension. And there we go on that side. Okay, so now I have a backer board which is cut in half, which I'm going to try to slide in there, but I want to make sure I put the spine side down first. Oops. This might actually be manufacturing, which would be very sad. Those are not folding back as much as they should. Get it back to its kind of natural V taper. That's going to be about as close as I'm going to be able to get. Board in there, and we're just going to gently slide it. I'm not going to tug it or pull it, because that for sure will cause issues. And what we're going to do now is just gently iron this thing along the spine from the back on down. And This is that big vertical tear that was there, so I'm just gonna loop that. Yeah. And this is the all your marbles. Make sure my iron's not too high. It's not. It's right about at the 2. This is incredibly nerve-wracking. I'm not applying any pressure. I'm floating this over the top of their Ouija board style. And I just want to get as much humidity in there as I can. And I should clarify, as steam through there. So if you actually wet the paper, of course, as you know from spitting on paper as a kid and also tearing it, that would be very bad. And now I'm going in with a little bit of pressure, so this is just maybe the weight of the iron plus the weight of my hand. So I'm not really pushing, but instead of gliding now, I'm just letting gravity kind of settle it. It makes me feel good, actually. I can see the dark line on the side from where the printing line should be. Now again, I'm using just the weight of the iron plus maybe the weight of my hand. So some pressure, but very, very, very little. So a couple posts in a different Facebook group making fun of me for the chip clips. I think it's much easier to keep the open edge secure that way. Let's flip this on over now. And hopefully we have a nice aligned spine. And the tricky part is going to be the staples. So I'm going to have to move these just a touch. Yeah. There we go. The bottom staple is still aligned, which is good. The top staple, I cannot tell, honestly. I couldn't tell before I touched it for the first time, and I still can't tell. But I'm thankfully not the person that has to make that determination. Much like Schrodinger's cat, just examining it sometimes can be enough to screw it up. So we are not going to touch it. That is until you look at it and the staple's either attached or not. Of course, if it detaches as a function of examining it, then that's a sad case. That's your physics allegory for the pressing video. And I do want to recapture this little bit there and roll it over. This is going to be a function for my Q-tip, which I'm going to re-wet. Just want to roll that paper. It wants to be stubborn and keep unrolling. Now I had to drop the water on my glove, hit the comic, which is not what you want to do. Oh, where's my Q-tip? Again, I'm not pushing with the Q-tip or the cotton round. What I'm doing is squeezing it and gliding. I'm just gonna let that do that. That spine looks like it held. I have less confidence in the top staple, but I do see Avengers blue through there. I think it actually is attached. The little spine split right by Thor is where we started from. This looks good, so I'm gonna call it done. We're gonna let the press do the rest. This thing is gonna have to get a very delicate humidification. I'm gonna humidify it exactly as I do my other books in my humidification tank, but what I'm gonna do is leave a backer board at centerfold. I'm gonna humidify this side for 3 minutes, then I'm gonna flip the whole thing over and humidify the external the other side for 3 minutes, and then we're going to give that a press. This one is going to get a very delicate 150-degree press, and I'm going to carry that out for 20 minutes. And so this is a lower temperature and a longer time than I would normally use. But the reason there is you still want the middle to get warm, and you need time for that heat to transfer all the way through the plates, through the stacking material, and into the comic book. But we don't ever want it to exceed or get too hot. So we're going to use a lower temperature for an extended period of time, and then hopefully we'll come back and take a picture of this thing fitting into its Silver Age bag now with the spine realigned. All right, everybody, here's our post-press look at this copy of Avengers #1. Thankfully, this thing stayed together, so I know that that piece is detached, but that's 2 lateral tears with a little bit there. This is the piece that was folded over. We were able to fold back. The bottom staple actually looks attached right there. Top staple is attached, so that's good. The spine split right there was pre-existing right by Thor. So if you look at the before pictures, there's very clearly a tear there. But other than that, everything else is good. You can see the little chip that we unfolded is a slightly different color. And everything else on this edge here looks pretty nice. So this one I think is a success story. Again, with the incredibly intense reading creases there along that spine, that is very delicate spine roll correction, so definitely not something you want to attempt on your first pass at doing this. But there you go, the chip clips helped out. This one, as with all of the really nice, fragile, delicate, higher value books that I send off, we're going to put that Silver Age board or bag. And that's the other really nice thing here, is that the comic now does fit in a normal Silver Age bag and board, so it's no longer splayed out. And we're going to put that inside of a larger Golden Age bag and board. And that way this thing, if it is impacted, by the way, we're still going to wrap that in cardboard, but if this thing is now impacted, you know, because somebody drops it or it gets dinged or whatever, it'll be these outer 2 boards here that take the blunt of it. And additionally, if somebody really grabs it, you know, it's protected with a nice thick backer board on both sides. And so that's how I like to send these on off. Keep your fingers crossed. This thing's still going to obviously be a very low grade book, but hopefully it'll look beautiful in its CGC slab. And turnaround times are taking a lot longer right now, so it'll probably be a little bit before this thing hits the live air. All right, folks. CGC has issued a verdict on this copy of Avengers #1, and they have decided it is a 2.5 cream to off-white pages comic book. All in all, it looks pretty good in the slab. It's still that same little pesky little bit there that I couldn't get to sit tight, but other than that, it's clearly the same issue. It now thankfully fits beautifully in a Silver Age slab, so that's terrific. And it looks much better for the owner than it did when it started. I will point out that the spine roll fix on a book, you know, like this, that has that extensive reader creasing that you can see all the way down the spine, and that has that little bit of a split that started up here by Thor. It's actually in the before pictures, so we didn't do that. But that pre-existing spine split with the reader creasing with the cream pages, which means the cover has some level of tanning and aging, as do the wraps, that make this an exceptionally delicate task. And so I would not encourage you as a new comic book presser or cleaner to even attempt that. You know, even having done this on dozens of copies, this one, you know, if I had to go back and do it all over again, it's quite possible we would blow a staple, split the spine further, any of that kind of stuff. And so really delicate job on this one. Thankfully, it turned out a-okay for the owner. Hopefully you appreciated watching both the process and the outcome, so please give the video a big thumbs up, drop a comment down below, smash the subscribe button, Hulk smash subscribe button. Smash that, and I'll have before and after pictures of this one to drop on Facebook or Instagram. Hopefully I'll remember to do so when this video goes live. Take care, everybody. Keep on collecting what you enjoy, and this one is a true Marvel classic to behold.